Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the UVic Greens for organizing this event. I'm happy to have the chance to talk to you for a few minutes about privacy and security. I'd like to make a couple of introductory points. First of all, this is not a new discussion. We've been thinking about security and privacy and sovereignty for as long as we've been living together as communities of people. Many of us are here tonight because we're worried about the privacy implications of C-51. But what does privacy mean anymore anyway? Here's a quote for you. You already have zero privacy, so get over it. Who said it and when? 1999. Before social media, before the explosion and digitalization of everything, it was Scott McNally, he was the CEO of Sun Microsoft Systems. You have already, in 1999, already you have no security, no privacy. Get over it. So things changed a lot since 1999. The world we live in now is just so digitalized, and every transaction, you know this, but every transaction you make, every chat you have, every image you capture and send, it's there forever. Like, it's there, it's digitalized. And people are watching it, are analyzing it, and are using it. And you know that from the ads that keep popping up on your screens, right? People are watching what you're doing when you click on your mouse. So privacy is under enormous threat, not just from the technology, but the technology has all kinds of other implications for privacy. And from our government, and the threats in C-51 that Donald and Elizabeth will talk about in some detail are very real. But regrettably, I have to tell you also, from our court system. The decision of the Supreme Court of Canada in December about cell phones, which essentially, I have the utmost respect for the justices of the Supreme Court of Canada. But I don't think they all use a lot of smartphones. And I don't think they understand that your smartphone, with all of its, the police, if they pick you up now and they have your phone, they can look without a warrant of any kind. They can search your contacts, your chats, your emails, everything you have on your phone. And lots of people are carrying around their whole lives on their phones, and more people are going to be doing it all the time. It's a setback from the court system. So there's great threats to our privacy. I guess the big point is that technology is not only eroding our privacy, but it's really forcing us to reconsider what we mean by privacy. It means something different today for somebody who was grown up with a digital device attached to them 24/7 than it does to somebody who wasn't brought up in that world. It's a change. It's an important change. The second point I want to make, the big point I want to make, is that the nature of the threats that we're facing with respect to security are, of course, changing. The threats that are brought on by the fact that we are interconnected are very real. I mentioned some things like child luring online. It wasn't a problem. It didn't exist before we were online. Now it's a real threat to security of our persons that our states have to find ways to deal with effectively. So the nature of the threats has changed quite dramatically also. And states exist, if they exist for any reason, it's to protect us from whatever the threats are, and the threats, which include trying to defraud an elderly person by getting hold of their Visa account number, or whatever kinds of frauds that take place in our interconnected world are real. And the state has to protect us from that. The third point I would like to make is that we can't deal with any of these kinds of threats in isolation. Canada cannot do, these are global threats. By definition, the things we are talking about are things that exist because we are interconnected and dealing with a world in which, you know, where are you when you're in cyberspace? Who commits the crime? How do you collect the rules of it? What are the rules of evidence? How do you prosecute? All these kinds of questions have to be are being dealt with. But you can't deal with them in isolation. And unfortunately, under the present regime in Canada, we've kind of managed to isolate ourselves pretty well, completely, in terms of our ability to act internationally to deal with these things. To make progress on these types of issues that we're here to think about tonight, you really have to try and develop a more common understanding. And that is one of the reasons I'm so delighted to be here on this stage and honored to be on this stage with Elizabeth May, whose early flagging of the real threats represented by C-51 has given the whole nation pause. It's certainly given the NDP pause, and I've no doubt that Elizabeth's early principled and persuasive arguments against C-51 have given us all reason to start thinking about, just hang on a second, why are we doing this? And why are we doing it so quickly? Why are we doing it in this context? We had to build C-36 after 9/11, I was there. And there was a whole range of new, what's in, the way that those first measures were put in place was with a lot more consultation, a lot more awareness, all kinds of provisions, sunset clauses. What's being proposed here, as you'll hear tonight, goes much further and has real risks to all of us. I'm going to close there. I just want to say thank you again. I want to say thank you to Elizabeth for standing up on this cause on my own personal behalf. I want to thank her for the principled position she takes on so many issues and the integrity she brings to politics. She's given me faith in politicians, and it's kind of a hard game to be looking for reasons to have faith in politicians if you live in our country these days. So thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Donald Gallaway.